Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Pageau. The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by MediaClip, Advertech Printing, and School Photographers of America.
Hello again, and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the special commemorative 100th episode with Eric Miller of MillerFoto down in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. Eric was our first guest back in March 27, 2020, where we started talking about, would this COVID thing really impact our business, and what should volume photographers and entrepreneurs do to get them through what they didn't know was going to be a more than 2-year-long experience. So hi, Eric, how are you today?
Gary, how are you today? I'm doing just great down here, and it's nice and sunny today. Of course, tomorrow it could be 40 degrees, and the next day it could be tornadoes. You never know.
Exactly. So I didn't want this to become a COVID retrospective, because we're both forward-looking people. But I went back and I listened to that episode from March 27, 21, and it was interesting how there was so much there that people didn't know about what was going to happen. And you were expressing at the time uncertainty about negotiating with your bank, about the mortgages you have on your building and on your office, et cetera. And, so obviously the government stepped in at some point and kind of helped with some of that with a lot of people. But what were some of the positives that came out of COVID for the volume photography industry? Because there's been a lot of chatter. It's been around for a while. And again, we don't want to say, hey, this has like anything really positive about 1 million people passing in the United States. But there were a lot of changes that businesses were able to enact in their business that they may have been putting off for various reasons, that they were able to enact because of the pause that COVID provided. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So the positive. So the very first thing we realized that, so for the first month, March or so, we paid all of our employees. They basically stayed home. And like, all right, well, like we didn't realize how long this was going to last. Eventually, they went away, literally, figuratively went away.
Mm-hmm.
The positive part about that is that it forced us to look at our business model from top to bottom.
Right.
Who is doing what job? How much are they getting paid? What kind of benefits are we paying to them? And when we looked at all the numbers and we talked to a number of the labs, we're like, okay, we can absolutely save money by moving all of our production to a lab. Okay. Right. So prior to COVID, we have our own lab. We have our own printers, software, everything. We were doing everything in-house. But that also meant that we had 6 people on full-time staff that were basically doing all this production work.
In a seasonal business. So it was up and down. And you were paying them all year long.
And we're paying them all year long. Right. So we looked at those numbers. We talked to a number of the labs and software companies, and we picked one, and we decided that this was going to be our best route moving forward, because for us, we have, like every photographer, a month or two where it's kind of slow, and to pay those 5 or 6 production people was just a bit of a challenge for us.
Right.
So the best thing for us that came out of COVID was moving all production, shipping everything out of our building to a lab, and downsizing our staff.
Mm-hmm. So what size staff did you go from, and what did you go to?
So for production, we had about 6 people full-time that were doing production. That's not cameras, that's not photographers, that's not office people. That's strictly handling order forms, making deposits, putting the orders into the software, printing the photos, packaging them up, that kind of stuff.
Right.
We literally got rid of 5 of those full-time people. We have 1 now that helps with production. We don't do very much production anymore. Our lab does 95% of everything we do.
Yeah, I imagine you still have some rush jobs and corrections and things like that that you need to do.
Right. That's what that one person in our office does right now. We still have darkroom software. We still have the printer. So if there's last minute things or something that we need to print off real quick,
Right.
a lot of times for schools, you got to print some freebie stuff, pictures of the teachers, maybe some group pictures to give to teachers. We just do all that in house real quick. But the money savings is huge.
I think that's going to be a trend, actually, because I
Yes.
think a lot of people in all segments of the industry are looking at their capital expenditures, especially in retail and people like that, where it's like, okay, I want to offer the service. And it's so easy now. People are used to the internet, and the labs can do such quick turnaround now. I don't mind paying the lab to do that. I'd rather do that than have the overhead of an employee and equipment and software licenses and all that.
Actually, it's much cheaper. Much cheaper. First off, I don't have the employee, which everybody knows, is the funnest part of our job, managing employees. So we don't have the employees. We don't have that cost. And when you look at how much a full service lab, just pick one, doesn't matter what lab it is. There's no way that it's cheaper for you to produce volume in-house than it is to let a lab just handle everything. I don't have any maintenance. I don't have to worry about software. I don't have to worry about e-commerce. I don't have to worry about taking payments. Everything's handled outside. Once we take the photo, we're pretty much done with it.
And it's your core competency. That's really what you got in the business for. As I remember, you got into the business because you were disappointed with your son's sports photos.
Correct. Yeah.
You weren't disappointed with the print quality or anything like that. You're disappointed with the photos themselves.
Yes.
And you said, I can do better than this.
That's correct. And I do. The other thing is that it's made us look at the bottom line much more in detail, where now we're following things that we didn't follow before because I didn't have the data. Well, now I can get the data from my lab.
Okay.
So now we have data that we didn't have before. We can see exactly what packages are being sold. We can see how many people. There's all sorts of things the data gives us that I didn't have before.
Now, was it because you didn't have any way of tracking it internally, or it wasn't a priority for the people who were in your lab, or is it just the software that the outsourced lab has is much more sophisticated?
Number one, the outsourcing of the lab, that's way more sophisticated. I can tell exactly how many parents bought what's the average rate, that kind of stuff. Where internally, when you're a photographer doing old school, where you're getting envelopes, you're taking the envelopes, you're opening them up, you're taking the cash out, you make a deposit. You may do a tape on your calculator that says, okay, I did gross sales, but you get no more data out of that. Right. And the other advantage to moving to online in another lab is to continuing marketing. This year during Christmas, we did $25,000 in sales, didn't do anything but send 2 emails out.
Right. And that was ornaments, magnets, keychains, calendars, all that stuff.
It's crazy how many people buy that stuff. You just got to remind them.
Because you've got the content.
Because we have it. Yes.
What was your process for choosing the lab? Because you're going into it with a blank slate. You may know who the people are. You've probably met them at SPAC or whatever event. You've heard the names. What was your process for saying, this is the lab I want to go to? Was it talking to other labs? Was it kind of putting out an RFP? What was the process there?
Good question. So what we did was we actually outsourced to a couple of different labs and e-commerce sites at the same time. We took some jobs and we said, okay, we'll run them through this process. We'll take some, we'll run them through this one. And we just saw how we liked each one of the processes. So the number one thing for me and my wife and my daughter who run the business is that we selected a lab that does everything. So in other words, I don't have an e-commerce sales platform that connects to a lab and then the lab prints and mails it. That's pretty typical of the way the industry works, except for one lab, the one that we chose. And they literally handle everything. I take the photo on a tablet. There's no such thing as Photoshop. We have a saying called shoot to sell, where we require our photographers to do everything in the camera before they get ready, before they get started.
Right.
once the photos are uploaded through the tablet, we're literally done.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a problem between the e-commerce site and the lab, not my problem.
Right.
I don't have to call anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. So we selected, I'm pretty sure they're the only ones that have their own, 100% their own software.
Mm-hmm.
So all the other labs require a third-party software to order stuff.
Right.
It's connected to the lab. So I had to be honest with you. I didn't want any of those headaches where I needed to do something to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we picked the lab that we work with.
Who is the lab? You can obviously name them if you wish.
Okay, well, we work with Candid Color Systems.
Okay.
They've been around. I think they're celebrating 50 years today.
Yeah.
And if you know the old Glamour Shots,
right,
franchise, that's who it is.
Right.
They in matter of fact, there are still
I'm having flashbacks to big hair.
Yeah, flashback with the big hair. Yeah, all the makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real interesting model back then.
It was. Well, and there's still a few around, but still. But their process is what we prefer.
Okay.
I take the picture, I walk away, I'm done.
The big change for the industry, though, is if they choose to go with somebody else with a platform and then different options for labs, people can do that. But I think the change for the industry has been getting away from paper forms.
100%.
Talk a little bit about the sea change that is for the industry, because I think when people made the change, it was more for COVID reasons, because they didn't know if COVID could be transmitted by paper or what. So they said, okay, I just want to get rid of that. So I'm going to go with this platform or that platform. A lot of people made the jump.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize all the other benefits they were getting of having a paperless system.
Yeah. So funny thing is, we were kind of thinking about moving to a lab at some point in time before COVID even hit. COVID was just, the incubator to kind of, move things along a little faster. The goal for me was to save labor. That was the goal. So the benefits of going paper are huge. First off, I don't have to worry about any cash, checks, money orders, any of that kind of stuff. We don't have to worry about deposits. I do not have to worry about mom not liking the picture because we chose one that she may like something better. Right, because mom's picking the picture. If she doesn't like it, well, she doesn't have to order it. Along that same lines, though, it forced us to improve our photography,
right? Because
using paper order forms, you could just give mom whatever the photographer took, and they would just accept it.
Right.
If your photography is not really on point, your sales will suffer.
Right.
That's a biggie. But if your photography is on point, you will make more money. And I think previously in the paper world, every photographer was worried about how much is a unit.
Right.
Right.
I haven't heard that phrase in a while because no one talks about units anymore.
The photographers that are uninformed are the ones, the first thing out of their mouth when I talk to a photographer who's asking me about, our use of Candid, like, how much is a unit? I'm like, I don't know. When you buy a car, do you ask how much are the tires? No.
Right. Exactly.
Right. It's a whole package. So, when you look at pricing, which is important to us, the whole package has to be at a certain dollar value, and we have to have a certain profit margin on the package. How much an 8x10, I could care less about.
Right.
While it's important, it's the whole package. How much is the package? How much is the shipping? Am I paying for envelopes? That kind of stuff.
Well, and the product mix is going to change because
product mix changes.
Because they may not want an 8x10, but they may want 7 magnets and an ornament.
That's right. And now I don't have to worry about calculating shipping or any of that kind of stuff because it's automatically calculated. And the parents are paying for shipping now, where previously, if we had to ship something, we'd add a couple of dollars, right? Everybody had like a shipping for like $3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Now we're actually making money a little bit, but we're making money on shipping. We're not losing any money.
Right.
And I have no labor involved in shipping.
Again, right. Which is the other big savings on that.
Yeah. Labor is a biggie.
Yeah.
Labor is a biggie for everybody.
Because you probably had a mailing system within your,
that's correct.
Right. So that was a bunch of overhead you had because you had the postage meter and the weighing and all that stuff. So that all goes away.
The meter was it was ridiculous, like $200 a month for the meter and the scale and the license from Pitney Bowes. That didn't
Mhm.
include any post. I didn't put any postage on anything yet.
Right.
And then the pain in the butt with restocking it with more postage. I mean, just the whole process was just
Right.
ridiculous and expensive.
Well, it goes to what is your business, right?
Yeah.
Why are you in the business? Are you in the business to give Pitney Bowes money or to take
Right.
pictures of kids?
Right. So when I talk to people about, what do I do? Let's say I'm at a, one of those meet and greets for the Civic Association, right?
Mhm.
I tell them, we're MillerFoto, we're a sales organization, and we specialize in school and youth sports photography.
Mhm.
And they'll look at me and go, oh, okay, I know exactly what you do.
Right.
And to me, internally, we've adjusted our thinking that we're a sales organization.
Right.
Because it's all about, so you don't make sales, you don't have an organization.
Right.
So it's all about sales for us.
Right.
We put all the processes, we put all of our training into making the photographers understand that you can't take this picture and go spend an hour in Photoshop fixing it.
Right.
So it's all about sales for
Mhm.
us.
Well, and the other piece of what you do is promotion. And I kind of want to pivot the conversation to what you've done with video.
Yes.
I saw your presentation. I'm not sure if it was the last SPAC or the SPAC before, where you did a whole session on video and how you use it. And I think, you're naturally a performer. I mean, giving you props for being able to do that. There's a lot of folks who don't, have the skill. But what you do, I think, is very important because it really reduces a lot of the concern people have. And it not only tells people why they should use MillerFoto, but it walks them through the process. Can you kind of talk about a couple of the videos? Out of the ones that I've seen, where it's like you even talk about how the kids are going to line up and things like that. Why is that important?
First off, communication is key in everything. We literally just re-signed a new league. They made some changes. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll make a couple of videos so we communicate with the parents exactly what's going on, how they're going to receive their photos, what happens on picture day, that kind of stuff. We found that sending them to a principal or office lady at a school or league director has much more impact than an email.
Right. Now are those personalized for specific clients? I mean, how time consuming is that?
That's a great question. So I have two. I have our generic, this is how it works. We want to be your photographer, and here's why. Here's the advantage of teaming up with MillerFoto. Now, the other ones we do have that we personalize, but the way we personalize it is I have an introduction that's about 30 seconds, and then I just merge it with a video that we've already created, and I can send those one-on-one out to those. On average, I send 2 or 3 of those a day, let's say 6 or 8 of them a week.
Okay.
I mean, I could just sit right here in front of my computer. I can do the introduction. I can put the software. I can, merge them, and then I send out an email.
Is that a great use of your time? Do you have people who could do that for you?
I'm hoping that in the future, I can hire a marketing person, and that's all they do. And then I would just record the introductions. They would handle, doing the production, sending them out, that kind of stuff.
Right. Because that is time consuming. What are you using to edit your videos?
We use a software called Camtasia.
Okay. Very familiar with that.
Relatively simple. I have Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of work.
It is. Yeah, I know it's exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I'm like, how do I do this
simple things? It's very difficult.
Yeah, I want to move the camera from this video from this position to this position. How do I do that? And I'm like, in Camtasia, you put it one place, you move it the other place, and say, okay, 13 seconds between this position and this one, and it kind of does everything for you. Now, it's not Premiere. I wouldn't use it if I was producing TV shows.
Right.
But it looks very simple.
But I think part of the appeal of what you're doing is that it's not a commercial. It's
correct.
Just you communicating. So it doesn't really need to have those production values.
That's correct. I'm all about video because I believe if we communicate correctly to any of our customers, whoever they are, that we'll get the business. That's just so I do invest a lot of time in creating my videos and my training. As you can see, we're talking about training right now in-house. And all part of that training will be videos.
Are you able to track using your email software, like whether they're clicking on the video, and probably not how long they're watching it, but how close do you track that?
You are incorrect. Not only can I track it, but I get an email as soon as they open it. I can look at the stats to see how long they watched it or to what point they watched it. And the good thing that told me was like, 10-minute videos, they're a waste of time. Right. You need to cut those videos down to 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. It just needs to be an introduction, that kind of stuff. But I do get stats on every single video that I send out. We use a software called CoVideo.
Okay.
Yes, you do get all the stats, everything you need. So I can see every time somebody opens that video, I can see what time they opened it. It's pretty amazing. Sometimes I'll send something to a customer, and within a couple of seconds, I must have just caught them while they were sitting in front of their email, and they open it up. I have my email program set up so that when they see an incoming email that says, okay, send an email right out to Gary, say, hey, I see that you opened up the video and watched it. Do you have any questions? This is all automated in the background.
Wow. So that's one lesson you learned, is don't make long ones. What's another suggestion you would have for someone who is looking to incorporate a video into their customer outreach and marketing?
Yeah. Keep it specific. Don't try to jam a whole bunch of things in there at one time.
Single topic. Yeah.
Just a single topic. Why our picture days are more organized, because we do this, and this. Contact Eric Miller for more information. How fast will your parents receive photos? Bam, 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 bam. I try to stick to 2 minutes. My goal. Sometimes I go over, sometimes a little shorter, but I try to stick to 2 minutes. And I only send them on certain days, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, or prime time to send emails and to send the videos.
Right. Does CoVideo suggest times for you? Does it tell you, this is the best time, or is that something you just learned?
No, it's just something I've learned over the years, just doing research on, how long videos should be, when is the best time to send them, what kind of topics should we include, just internet searches, just doing research over the years. With CoVideo, we can schedule the video. So like right now, I can sit here right now and I could schedule 20 or 30 of the videos to go out at a certain time. Which is good, because I can sit at home sometimes after I've already created all the videos, and I can just schedule them while I'm sitting in front of the TV.
When doing these videos, when I talk to people about incorporating video into their marketing, specifically retailers and folks like that, they always say, well, I don't know what to say. What is the process for becoming more comfortable in front of the camera and being more natural? Because I think once you do that, the content will come out. You'll figure out what to say. Yeah.
Oh, well, first off, what's in it for them? In other words, the fact that I use Canon cameras, nobody cares. I don't even talk about what kind of camera I have. I don't talk about anything, specific like that. I talk about what helps you. Okay. Right. Your picture days are always unorganized. The photographer always is an hour late. They always run into lunchtime. Those are 3 really good topics that the principal or the secretary at a school will go, oh yeah, photographers always running late. They always run into lunchtime. So I look for those kind of topics. How can I help you, the customer, have a better experience? That's what I try to do. How can I help you have a better experience? The way we do it behind the scenes doesn't mean anything to them.
Right. They just want the outcome and the magic. They don't need to see how the sausage is made.
Two great words: the outcome and as a matter of fact, I'm going to write those down. The outcome and the magic. I'm going to quote you on
that. Please do.
Yeah. They don't need to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah. But I think that's where kind of people step out of or make an error in video, is they tend to want to talk about themselves.
Talk about themselves. Don't talk about yourself. Nobody cares.
Right.
And I never say, hi, I'm Eric Miller, blah, blah, blah. We've been a photographer for 40 years and blah, blah, blah. And, you do. No, I get right to the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Eric with MillerFoto. We want to show you how we can improve your sports league picture days today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, now they're going to pay attention.
Right.
Now, I've hit a topic. I've hit a nerve where the sports league director can go, yeah, you know what? Picture days are always kind of crazy and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So I always introduce the video and how I'm going to help the customer.
Right.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've developed a resource for businesses to use video in their business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I've created some PDFs and videos, obviously, that show other photographers how to set up a video.
Mm-hmm.
What they already have the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Every camera nowadays, every DSLR has video in it.
Right.
I tell them what kind of microphone to get.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, where they can get, the kind of lights. They probably have a green screen background. They can just use a green screen if they want,
Mm-hmm.
or a natural background.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell them points like we just discussed. These are the topics that you should be talking about.
Right.
Again, nobody cares what kind of camera or lights you're using. Don't even bring it up. We don't even discuss it. And then I discuss a few things like we talked about earlier about, keep your videos subject specific, keep them very short,
Mm-hmm.
and post them on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to use music, use royalty-free music because they will
Right.
take your video down 100%.
Right.
And there's plenty of free royalty-free music
Yeah.
on YouTube. You just type in royalty-free music and you can download it right there from YouTube.
And there's sites dedicated to providing stock music, stock photography, et cetera. Whether it's free or very affordable, it's all out there to sound and look professional.
I have a couple of videos where I can show them, how to create the video. It's really not that difficult.
Right.
You don't need an expensive teleprompter like the TV stations use. I literally have a laptop with the screen right underneath the lens of the camera, and I use it, and I just, create a PowerPoint presentation with the text real big, about 48 point. So I can just kind of keep along, and it keeps me on subject while I'm creating the video. So most photographers already have everything other than continuous lights. A couple of $100, you can go out and buy some lights.
Right.
So every photographer that I know of pretty much has everything except lights and a microphone.
And the microphone, I think, is key because that's where I think people, when they start, tend to skimp or just don't even think about it. But the on-camera mics on a DSLR are not good enough.
No, and you're too far away from the microphone.
Yeah.
You need to get the microphone as close as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I have a cheap microphone that I use when I'm out in the field. It costs me like $50.
Right.
It plugs right in the camera. I got a little extension cable. I just put the lapel mic on me and I just talk.
And you go to town.
People will stop watching a video because of the audio sooner than anything else.
Right. That's exactly right. So where do people find out more information about the binder?
Well, I'm going to be at SPAC.
Okay.
Me and Jeff Gump will be at the conference. I'll have the information with me there. I'm not finished yet, so I don't have it posted kind of anywhere yet.
No, we'll look forward to seeing you at SPAC and learn more information.
Yes, we're looking forward to SPAC. We get a 5-hour class at SPAC this year.
Wow. Yeah, I've had Jeff in the interim since our first episode. I have had Jeff on the show too, so he's another great resource. So one of the things you get out of SPAC is optimism. I always am impressed. I've gone now to, I think, 4 or 5 SPACs, and it's always impressive how optimistic the industry is, especially now, where I think people are really embracing the change than the opportunity that's ahead of them.
I agree 100%. My wife and my daughter and I mean, even though we work together, we do have meetings and we do talk specifically about, business and stuff like that. And all 3 of us are excited. I mean, we're looking at, we think we're going to have the best year of our company yet in 2023. We feel very strongly about that.
Mhm.
We talk about business
Mhm.
once a week. It's very important to keep a close eye on the business, on your numbers.
Right.
You have to know your numbers. We look at them every single week.
Mhm.
We're
Great.
very optimistic.
Yeah, I'm just getting that feeling that there are people who are seeing that with a lot of the changes that are happening in the industry, a lot of schools are looking for changes, a lot of opportunity out there to improve workflow, improve profits,
Yes.
improve the bottom line, and yet still improve the service, which is even
Yes.
the most important thing.
Yes. I like being able to network with other people that are 100 times my size
Mhm.
because, I want to grow my business. So I
Right.
want to network and talk to people that have already experienced that growth and already have that experience in dealing with 1,000 schools or,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So that's why I like going to SPAC and all the other conferences,
Mhm.
more to network with experienced people than anything else.
And to share your enormous treasure trove of knowledge.
I do have a little bit, I do, when it comes to creating videos and marketing pieces, that's
Mhm.
where I excel.
And it's great that you share that. That's one of the
Yeah.
great things about this industry is people are willing to share
Yeah.
amongst themselves. So thank you, Eric. Where can people go if they want to reach out to you to either partner or learn more? Where's a good place to reach you?
Yeah. They can just send me an email directly to my office, Eric at MillerFoto, and it's MillerFoto.com.
Great, Eric. Well, listen, hopefully I'll be seeing you soon at some of these industry conferences and we'll have a chance to do some disco dancing, I hope.
Hey, all right. I'm down for that.
Have a good day.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.